Hi guys, it's Steffi from the Novelty Corner. Welcome back to my channel. Today I have my September and October 2018 book haul revisited video. For those of you who are new to my channel, every 2 months I film one of these videos where I look back at 12 months prior and I go back over 2 months worth of book hauls and look at what I've read, what I kept, what I've unhauled, what I've taken into work, because for those of you who are new here, I'm a teacher. I do read a lot of kids fiction, so I take a lot of books into work. And this is just sort of my way of making sure that I read through my TBR and that things that I'm buying are actually either being read or I am clearing them out, because nothing gives me more anxiety than having books sitting around for ages. I actually do like to read through them. And I go through anything that is left unread from the previous 12 months, and that sort of forms part of my TBR for the next 2 months. I am filming this one a little bit earlier in the month just because I wanted to get it up a little bit earlier, and a couple of these books may feature in future Books Beside My Bed videos in August, because a few of them I think I will end up reading for my Newts readathon. Anyway, the goal is to read them by the end of October. That will happen, there's not that many left. So between September and October 2018, I actually acquired 41 different books. I unhauled one book unread, which was The Catalyst, and I can't remember the author's name, but it was just something random that I picked up and then decided that I wasn't actually going to read it. And I'm trying to get better at not just buying books for the sake of buying them. That's the whole point of this video. I DNF'd and unhauled Luna by Ian MacDonald, which was earlier this month. I just could not get into it. Then I had 7 books that I actually read and unhauled, which is quite common for me. I will read a lot of things, particularly I get a few review copies, so I do read through them and unhaul them. The first one was Perfect 10 by Jacqueline Ward, which was a review copy. Tales from the Dead of Night by Cecily Gayford, which was again a review copy. Both of those were unsolicited, so that tends to happen. I try and read them, but if I'm not completely in love with them, I will pass them on to other people to read. Dark Sacred Night by Michael Connolly, which I did really enjoy, and now I'm sort of regretting having passed that on, but someone else is probably enjoying it, so that's fine. The Lady's Guide to Petticoats and Piracy by Mackenzie Lee. I'm not a big fan of that series. I know it's very, very well beloved here on BookTube, but for me it was just okay, so I've read it and passed those on to other people who will enjoy them more. The Big Over Easy by Jasper Ford, which was a book that was loaned to me by my assistant principal at work, because he really enjoyed the series and he thought I would like it, so he lent it to me. And I did. It was a great fairy tale sort of murder mystery fantasy book, which I loved. Mirage by Samaya Dowd, which was a young adult fantasy book, or sci-fi fantasy book, sort of was a mix of both. And Children of Blood and Bone by Tommy Adeyemi, which I was not that big a fan of. I have 6 middle grade books that have gone into work for my kids to read in the classroom. I teach 9 and 10-year-olds, so I do read a lot of middle grade fiction now. The first 2 books that I took into work were Have Sword Will Travel and Let Sleeping Dragons Lie by Garth Nix and Sean Williams. This is a fantasy series about dragons and talking swords, and it was just delightfully fun. Jane Doe and the Cradle of All Worlds by Jeremy Laughlin, which is a magical adventure fantasy story. The Slightly Alarming Tale of the Whispering Wars by Jacqueline Moriarty, which was the sequel to The Extremely Inconvenient Adventures of Bronte Meadowstone. These are really fantastic twisty-turny fantasy middle grade books that come in gorgeous packaging. They're hardcover foiled books and they're just beautiful. And also Arusha and the End of Time by Roshani Chokshi. And now we come to the 21 books that I've read and kept, and I've sort of tried to sort them out this month. Basically, I've got 4 categories. I've got middle grade, young adult, adult, and then I've also got multiple books by the same author, because there were 2 authors that I acquired multiple books for in these 2 months. So we'll start with the middle grade. So I read and kept City of Ghosts by Victoria Schwab, which is a middle grade paranormal story. Again, in the middle grade paranormal category / young adult, depends on your kid really. The first one you could probably get away with middle grade, the rest of them probably get a little bit more adult, but they're shelved in the middle grade section here in Australia, so let's just go with that. This is The Screaming Staircase by Jonathan Stroud. This is book 1 in the Lockwood & Co series, which I have now since read the entire series, and it is just awesome. Then from the YA books, I have Muse of Nightmares by Laini Taylor. This is book 2 in the Strange the Dreamer duology, and I really adored it. I also had a review copy of A Curse So Dark and Lonely by Bridget Kemmerer. I also have since acquired a finished copy, but I'm keeping this one because it has the gorgeous foiled cover, which plays havoc with my lights and my camera, but it is just beautiful. Also, this was the one that I read, so it's tabbed up. So next time I reread this book, I'll be rereading my hardcover. What the Woods Keep by Katya Di Pasero. This is a Love Oz YA. It's sort of paranormal / urban fantasy-esque, and it was delightfully creepy. And if there is a follow-up, I will definitely be reading it. Escaping from Houdini by Kerry Maniscalco. This is the 3rd book in the Stalking Jack the Ripper series, and I just adore this. The 4th book is coming out in soon, I think. I thought it was later in the year, but I think it might even be in the next month or so. I have pre-ordered the next book. I have also pre-ordered the Fake Rate book hangover box for the 4th book because I really like this series. It's fun, it's easy to read, it's historical fiction with a murder mystery plot. It's great. The Singing Bones by Shaun Tan is a gorgeous sort of collectible book. It is a collection of excerpts from traditional tales, and Shaun Tan has done some clay work to represent each tale, and it is just beautiful. So you have a little bit of the story and you also have Shaun's clay work, and it is awesome. Shaun is a great Australian author. Oh, I forgot to say, I also had Tales from the Inner City by Shaun Tan, which was his most recent release. That is also at school, and again is a collection of short stories and poems and is just a fantastic collection. And The Ocean Was Our Sky by Patrick Ness. This is sort of that flipped Moby Dick retelling from the perspective of the whales, and it was delightfully weird, and I think I need to reread it because I think I'll enjoy it more on a second reread, but I did enjoy it the first time around. Meet Me at the Intersection, which was edited by Rebecca Lim and Amberlynn Quay-Molina. This is a collection of short stories from diverse authors. It is Lovers YA and it was fantastic. A great collection of stories. Growing Up Indigenous in Australia, this was edited by Amanda Hess, and this is non-fiction stories from people's lives where they are recounting their childhood growing up as an Aboriginal in Australia, and it was just very eye-opening and something that I'm very, very glad I've read. And finally, I picked up Wildcard by Marie Lu, which is the second and final book in the Warcross duology, and this was just delightfully fun young adult science fiction. It is not overly complicated, so it's great. From the random adult books that I acquired that are all different authors, there is Exit Strategy by Martha Wells, which is book 4 in the Murderbot Diaries. The Air Affair by Jasper Ford. Again, this was bought for me as a gift. I have actually read this book in the past, but at some point I will do a reread because it is something that I really enjoyed the first time that I read it. And also Vengeful by V.E. Schwab, which is the follow-up to Vicious, an adult science fiction series. So it could almost be classified as a bit of urban fantasy, really. In September and October last year, I acquired 4 Brandon Sanderson books. The first is Stillheart, which is sort of a young adult superhero style story. Snapshot, which is an adult novella about a world where you can relive any given day and hunt for clues to solve crimes. The Emperor's Soul, which is all about whether or not you can create a replica of a human soul. Then The Legion, The Many Lives of Stephen Leeds. This is a collection of short stories following a schizophrenic who solves crime. And finally, I picked up 3 Nalini Singh books. Then I picked up a book from the Guild Hunter series by Nalini Singh, and that was Archangel's Legion. I'm just randomly collecting those if I come across them. I'm not too worried about collecting the whole series, but just having a selection of the ones that I really liked. And I also picked up 2 books from the Side Changeling series. The first one being Kiss of Snow, which is Hawk's story, and Shield of Winter, which is Vasik's story. Which leaves me with 7 books that I have yet to read, so here they are. This was the time that I picked up 3 Daredevil graphic novels, and I have still not read them, but some of them are actually going to be read very, very soon. The first one is Daredevil Volume 1 by Frank Miller and Klaus Janson. They're still in their plastic wrapping because I haven't read them. There is Daredevil Born Again. This one was by Miller and Mazzucchelli. And The Man Without Fear, again by Miller and Romita Jr. I also have Adrift by Rob Moffat, which I'm very eager to read. Traitor's Blade by Sebastian D. Castell, because I've only read his Spellslinger series. I haven't read any of his other works, and I know that this one is meant to be quite good. Andromeda's Fall by William C. Dietz. This is just something I picked up randomly and I've still kept, so I will probably read it at some point. And The Company of 8 by Harriet Whitehorn, and this is a middle grade book. And I think I just discovered that this one has a map in it, which is a prompt that I need for the newts, so I will probably be picking this up relatively soon. So those are the 41 books that came into my life in September and October last year and where they are now. I'm pretty pleased that of those 41 books, I've actually read 34 or something of them, and I've only got 7 left to read. So those are pretty good odds. In the comments below, let me know if you have read any of these books and what your thoughts were on them. Otherwise, let me know which of the 7 books you think I should get started on straight away because you'd like to hear my thoughts on them. I hope that wherever you're in the world, you are having a wonderful day, and I'll catch you guys in my next video. Thanks so much for watching. Bye guys.